baby girl. Say hello. You're getting so big. Penny's getting so big. Huh, Penny? Penny's getting so big. Look, Penny. Look, Penny. She loves me out of everybody in the family. I don't know why. She just always wants to hang out with me. Even when I'm working upstairs, she wants to work here with me. So, remember I said I'm going to cover 2 or 3 questions from my post on YouTube where I said, give me a interesting subject. So one of the questions was, can you please make us understand nakshatra the easy way? Instead of all the complication of nakshatras, and besides just moon nakshatra, help us understand, nakshatras from other planets. So that's what I'm going to do today. What do you want? Okay. Now, nakshatras are these 27 constellations. Okay? Ow! Easy. I'm recording. I don't want to be screaming. Oh my God, she's like scratching my legs. Baby girl. So, nakshatras are these 27 constellations, which are the detailed part of the zodiac sign. Okay? We all know that, especially if you're in India. I mean, everybody knows their Janma Nakshatra. Right? So, look at this. Oh my God. How about this? Why don't we start with Ashlesha Nakshatra? Right? Let's start with Ashlesha. With a little kitty, Ashlesha Nakshatra. So, let's say you have a planet, right? In Ashlesha. How would you understand that planet? Let's say you have moon in Ashlesha. Okay? And Ashlesha tends to get a very bad rap. That, okay, well, Ashleshas are cunning and this and that. And Ashleshas will manipulate situation because everybody reads the basic story and then doesn't understand that there has to be certain circumstances where these things will become active. Okay. So let's say you have moon in Ashlesha. Right in front of moon, you have Saturn. And okay. Ow. Okay, so I'm going to have to stop this. Come on, baby girl. Go. She's like hanging on to my thing here. So let's say Saturn is in Cancer. Maybe not even in Ashlesha. Let's say Saturn is in Pushya. Or you can say Saturn is also in Ashlesha. Now, the mind, what is Ashlesha? What is the yoni of Ashlesha? It's a naga. It's a serpent. We don't know if it's a cobra. We don't know if it's a rattlesnake, copperhead, cottonmouth, black mamba, or it's something very different type of an entity, which we can even call it Patanjali and Nagas. But it is a naga. It's a serpent. Okay. Now this serpent, which is this serpent in its own, yes, has Saturn. When moon is with Saturn, what's happening is Saturn is any form of contamination. Okay, it's any form of contamination. So what's happening now? The mind, which has this nakshatra which is neutral, now suddenly has some form of contamination with it. And this type of contamination can lead to sometimes self-harm, depression, sometimes leads to, especially let's say Saturn is also in Ashlesha ahead of moon. This person, usually mafia bosses, people who love to control situation and things, but from behind the scene, meaning somebody else doing the work for them. This type of situation can come about when you look at this pattern of moon being with Saturn. Okay? Because here there's some contamination that is happening. Now that contamination that poison, that is not even poison, it's just contamination. You're like a water which is just contaminated. It's not poison. You can drink it, but you might get sick, you might not get sick, how healthy your immune system is. But in that same vicinity, if now Jupiter is influencing this or Venus is influencing this, okay, now this person, instead of becoming a mafia boss, becomes a humanitarian that wants to give itself into service of others. They will sacrifice themselves to take on burdens of others. Just like Patanjali took the burden of humanity and showed them this is what God is. Right? He did this behind the veil. Nobody could even see Patanjali, and he gave, the sutras. I'm watching her because she can just jump on me anytime. So now what's happening in this nakshatra, which was with the moon, so mind has this consciousness, meets Saturn, gets contaminated, creates through that Visha Yoga. Now Jupiter, that comes into play. Now it's like you're adding the third chemical that suddenly turns it into gold. But that too, we want to see where Jupiter is looking from which nakshatra. For example, Rohini. Rohini is about progress, it's about growth, it's about taking a beautiful journey somewhere. Rohini is about the beloved. Rohini is about beautifying something, giving something at a service which is beautified. Like you can go to a regular restaurant, okay, get yourself a meal. But then there's another restaurant where the chef comes onto your table, cooks for you, does all these fire things, and does a magic show and then gives you the food. Okay, this type of service will be connected with Rohini. So let's say you take Rohini, you put Rahu in Rohini. Now what is the yoni of Rohini? It's a cobra. It's a male cobra, right? So it's just a cobra. It's not moving. It's not doing anything. It's just there. It's like, this is me now. You're coming into my domain. Okay? This, whatever energy is, you're welcome and you can stay in my domain. But that energy is Rahu. Rahu is the head of the serpent. Rahu is the snake. So now what's happening is this half piece of the puzzle gets Rahu that is on top of Rohini. Now this particular energy will be all about obtaining, owning, controlling to an obsessive level. Because now Rahu represents what? Rahu is poison. Rahu is actually poison. So now the actual male cobra of Rohini gets like it's, kind of like Iron Man. Iron Man coming together with his helmet on that flies from somewhere, and now he's protected and he can like kill all the bad guys. Same way, now this Rahu Rohini finally gets his Iron Man mask to do something. And that something could be extremely obsessive towards that control. Like when they have an eyesight on something, they want to own it. They're like, I own you now. Now, how can this really become into a terrible or really become into a malefic situation is when you have other planets that may support this Rahu. Other planets that will support this Rahu from some angle, which I won't say here. I won't. You can keep thinking about what that angle is. And especially not just Mars, Mercury and Mars. Intelligence, okay, with action and obsession. This is where, and now let's say you have this. But also now, you look at a nakshatra, right? You look at a nakshatra like Pushya. one of the most magnificent nakshatras according to the classics, you know. But I have seen people don't really get those Pushya related results as you would think. But um, let's say in Pushya, you put Rahu. Rahu's in Pushya. So what is happening? Pushya is governed by not just nourishment. Okay, it's not really the nourishment as in food. You can say that, but it's literally for improving society. And how do you improve society? You improve society through knowledge, through gyan, through wisdom. Now you're putting, now what, think about it. What is the symbolism of Pushya? Is the cow's udder, where the milk comes from. You have now serpent in there. So what is going to come out of the udders? It'll be poisoned milk. So especially when somebody is trying to teach with these particular, with Rahu in this particular nakshatra, the teaching can be very contaminated. Now, the teaching can be extremely superior if Rahu has support of its guru, which is Venus. If Venus and Jupiter are looking at this Rahu, now let me turn this flip on you, where this person would be a tantric yogi. Somebody who could be a very highly realized master of some form of teaching. Now think about it. You put a poison in the cow's udder. That's the first thing. Okay, so Rahu brings about that desire to just say something and talk about something without even knowing if it's right or wrong. That's what happens with this Rahu. They want to get out there and say something. They want to be that journalist who has that first story, whether it's true or not. And they will add their own masalas into it. But now, how can this become something more of an issue? Well, first of all, everything will have to start from the mind. Right? So now let's say if this person has moon in Purva Bhadra, especially on the Aquarius side. Okay. Now, what is Aquarius? First of all, look at the symbolism of Aquarius. It's a vase. Vase, some people look at it as a pot, like in India we call it matka. So what is in there? The old man is holding a vase of water, right? But it's not water. It's holding something. It could be wisdom. It could be magic. It could be poison, anything. But what happens, the symbolism shows something which is guarded, something which is protected. A protected knowledge, perhaps. This is why Aquarius is actually linked. It's the highest point of Jyotish, Aquarius. Because it's the ability to get into guarded knowledge, meaning you're going inside the actual vase to get something which is hidden, secretive. But now moon is in Purva Bhadra. While moon is in Purva Bhadra, with it, you have, let's say, Mars in Bhadrapada with moon. So now what happens is this mind is wanting to take action to teach something to people which will be secretive, which can ultimately be turned into some form of a cult. You know what people say, cult following? Because the mind has that aggression to take that chance and risk and to show the world that what I have is this contained knowledge and it will only be given to a few people. So you have that Rahu in Pushya ready to just go and get whatever knowledge. And then you have the mind, which is in Bhadrapada Nakshatra, with Mars having the aggression to take that action. And especially if, let's say, you also had moon with sun, and sun was right behind, or moon was right behind sun in Bhadrapada. Well, now a person is going to become extremely secretive, but also the mind is no longer able to discern from what is right way of doing things, what is wrong way of doing things. They're going to do it. Sometimes they will just take the risk and do it. It's a very, see, whenever moon is behind sun, the person becomes very risky. They'll take risk. Why? Because nobody can see the moon. You don't know where the moon is. You don't know what moon is doing. So this is where moon knows behind sun that, oh, I can go ahead and do all of these things and nobody will see. Somebody might see it. Most of the time they won't see it. They don't know where I am. So, and this is something I've seen with Amavasya moon, that a person is able to always take a lot of risk and not get caught unless they say it, oh, I've done this or I've did that. It's very hidden. So when you look at nakshatra, try to understand the story, but just if you understand the pieces of the puzzle that are coming together. Like for example, let's say moon is in Jyeshta. Jyeshta is about control and power and willing to do anything for the kingdom. It's not a bad nakshatra. It's about willing to do anything for the kingdom, even if the person has to spread blood spatter, meaning fighting for the kingdom to do something. Right? On one hand, if let's say you have this moon, and then Jyeshta, its yoni is the antelope, or you can even say the deer. Okay? But now, let's say Mars is with moon. When Mars is with moon, those antlers of the buck or the antelope is turning into spheres and spikes. Meaning, because the deer always runs away and hides, deer's always wanting to be in an isolated place, wanting to hide. And with these antlers, one is willing to run away, get away from everybody's sight, and do something that can sting or poke something, stab something. So there's that frustration. Now, you can get into houses, because that's also very important. Where is this occurring? If this occurs in the first house, the person is willing to die for their country. Okay? The person's, if let's say Mars and Moon are in the ascendant in Jyeshta, person is willing to die for their country, their cause, and they would let the world see it. Let's say the same thing happens in the fourth house. If it's happening in the fourth house, you're going to be very hidden and secretive about those particular actions that you're willing to die for or kill for. Fourth and 12th. Okay. Now, 8th will also come into play, but there's other scenarios. Usually, planet in the 8th will need support of planet in the 5th. Unless the 5th, the Lord is in the 8th. But this is how you want to think. When you are looking at nakshatra with any planet, you first always want to start out with how is this person thinking? See, if a person is very pure, or not even the person, the mind, the consciousness is very pure, it's impregnated with purity. And if you hand it a rifle or a gun, it's not going to shoot. It's going to be disgusted by it. Like, I don't want to touch this particular thing connected with something that can cause death. But in the same way, so where was my train of thought? So yeah, if a person has a pure mind, they will not even touch the gun. If the mind becomes very protective, they will hold the gun in case some danger comes in. And if the mind is corrupt and nothing can be seen with the mind, or they can be hidden from the world, Now they will take the chance of doing something just unusual. They'll just use the gun to see how it works. Let's see what happens if I shoot it at this particular person. Now, on the other hand, let's say you have Mrigashira Nakshatra. Okay. Mrigashira is that search for Soma, meaning immortality, which in turns, in new modern world, can be simply somebody wanting to leave a legacy, somebody who is wanting to be remembered after they're gone. That's what Mrigashira is. So Mrigashira people will usually like to do something, whether it's in terms of humanitarian work, whether it's in terms of creative work, whether it's in terms of some tech work. They want to do something that they can be remembered for. Okay, so you see that. Okay, and now let's say that's in the belly of their consciousness, which is the mind, the moon. That's the moon nakshatra. Now, on one hand, let's say this moon was with Venus. Okay. So now the Mrigashira is with Shukra. Okay. Shukra is a particular graha which is kind of connected with the Sanjeevani Shakti, ability to bring something dead to life. So usually you will see these people, they're gonna wanna do something by reviving something which people have forgotten. Okay, they're gonna revive something like, for example, such a person can revive old forms of ragas into modern music. They will revive old forms of like Bharatnatyam, some classical music, 18th century music back into life. For example, this person will tell now stories of ancient, ancient India, ancient US, ancient Europe into movies and creativity. Because you're seeing that ability to desiring to leave a legacy, but by reviving something, right? By reviving individuals, such people would make great Reiki healers. They're able to revive people through cosmic energy. On the other hand, you got moon, or let's say moon Mrigashira. Ketu's with moon. Now Ketu is that sharp cut and separation. And usually you will find such people who at one point will desire to leave a legacy, at then the other point they will have no desire to leave any legacy. They want to run away from legacy. They're now in search for something which is unknown to the world. The world doesn't even know its concept. It's understandable, which is in turns out to be God, which in turns out to be that spiritual knowledge. Search for moksha. So moon now is impregnated with that Mrigashira energy with the support of Ketu. Like such people will even cut themselves off with family, friends, and cousins, and they don't really care about it. The mind is separative. Same energy, with, let's say, Mrigashira, moon connects with Mars, who's in Mrigashira. Then this person becomes an adventurer. Then this person is going to be venturing out into places, to deal for soma, to deal for treasure, to have that ability to gain something, that is hard to gain. So now their search for that thing, that elixir, becomes very strong. And if, of course, Saturn is involved, then it becomes the profession. And then, of course, if let's say you have, for example, let's say you just even take Mrigashira, or actually let's take a different one. Let's take Dhanishta Nakshatra, right? You have Dhanishta. You have moon in Dhanishta, or let's say not even moon, you have Venus in Dhanishta. Okay. Ability to revive And then you have Dhanishta, which is rhythm, okay, which is a very special ability, a very special thing, because Dhanishta is also connected with Ashtavasu, one of the eight special people. So usually such people are able to come up with some form of a special talent, special skill in this life. And so here Venus is able to show that a person can be a great doctor. Okay, because Dhanishta, and also Dhanishta is the lion, right? Lion is able to, not lion is getting that energy of Venus. So one is able to hunt, okay, especially it's a lioness, so it hunts. It can hunt for the right things to revive, right things to show to people that, look, I'm very good at finding things that can save you, that can revive you. So they're very good at, even like, for example, Venus and Dhanishta, one will be excellent at recruiting people. You know, people who become professional recruiters. You got Moon in Dhanishta with Ketu. There is a past life talent connected with music. One is very intuitive about health. Like wherever, because Ketu is whichever planet like infuses itself with Ketu, those particular skills can take you to new heights. Okay, so if let's say Venus is in Dhanishta with Ketu, past life skills of music and dance can suddenly take a person to new heights. Mars in Dhanishta with Ketu, this person going towards land, real estate, or this person even dealing with engineering, suddenly will take them to new heights. Ketu is like your skill. Ketu is that skill from past life. You know, so if let's say you're looking at skill, that sharpness that can really pierce through and just make you know that there's something amazing here. You can like look at Ketu's nakshatra. Wherever Ketu is and the nakshatra that is in, that is a skill you're born with. That's something nobody needs to teach you or tell you. You'll get it. Although with Ketu, especially after 48th year, that power just becomes active. So there's always these good sides and negative sides, but you don't want to just see something and say, oh, you're this, because you could be completely wrong. Okay, so I'm giving you the first 5 steps. The next 20 steps is something that you will see from repetitive charts. You have to look at charts repeatedly over and over again. So houses, pay attention to the houses and the nakshatras. You know, the hidden house, the exposed houses, houses of intelligence. All these are more in the basics. But start putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Okay, like for example, you can have an individual that has, like, let's say Mars in Kritika nakshatra. Okay. And then Saturn is connected with Moon. Venus is connected with Jupiter. Okay. Now you can see that this person most definitely will be a surgeon. They're willing to cut. They have that ability to hold a weapon and utilize the weapon in the right way as a soldier, to cut something, to save someone's life, because the mind is wanting to save somebody. And especially like we can use the same example. Sun and Moon could be in Cancer and they could literally just be in Ashlesha. And let's say Jupiter, Venus are in Ardra. So one is willing to attain the knowledge of medicine because the mind is inclined towards service. And the tool that they are going to use is going to be the knife. Okay, and of course, this coincidentally would be actually a very strong position because Saturn and Mars are in a 311 relationship. So Mars is influencing Saturn. So you see, you can think about what the planet is, what it represents, what is this zodiac sign, and then what is that symbolism of the nakshatra. And this is how then you will connect. There's other ways which I am going to learn, but I can't discuss those ways actually. I've been sworn to secrecy, to not talk about it. I can use it in readings and all that, but I can't. So I can't even name that particular method as well. It's from my old teacher. Now, if you want to know where your nakshatra is, you can check out the links at karasastrology.com in the report on the shop section. So you'll find out all the nakshatras, and you'll also find the link to my academy, Magha Vedic Astrology Academy, where you'll find my course on wristwatches, Nadi, Vastu, everything. Otherwise,